Guys, we have a bonus host today. Hi, Marie.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good,
Marie. How are you?
Happy to be here.
Yeah, welcome back. It's been a minute.
A long time, yeah. It's been, I think, Door County long.
Yeah, I was trying to think. That was probably like last summer we had you on the cabin. What the heck? Where have you been? Been ignoring us?
have been holed up in the house pretty much, I think like all of us. Just surviving.
Just surviving. Yeah. Well, we're super pumped about today's episode. This is going to be, I think, really enlightening for a lot of us. Hopefully our listeners enjoy it too. I think it's going to be cool. And we're bringing an interviewee on, which is kind of a new concept for us. We haven't done that a whole lot on the Cabin Pod. So
usually internal people like Marie, we interviewed you about the Door County episode, but now you get to interview an interviewee who isn't even part of our show.
Oh my goodness.
Who's an expert in a field that I'm very excited about as an entrepreneur myself. So I'm super excited to talk to her today.
Let's do it.
All right. The Cabin with all of us here today is brought to you by the Wisconsin Counties Association. And this week we're featuring Kewaunee County. Now it's right along the east edge of the state, situated along nearly 28 miles of beautiful Lake Michigan shoreline. Its Menominee name is Kewaunee, an archaic name for a species of duck. That's a nugget of information, Susan. Thanks.
Okay.
Oh, so if you're in downtown Kewaunee, it's right where highways 29 and 42 come together. You will find the world's tallest grandfather clock. I've seen it many a time, taken many a picture. It stands 36 feet tall. It used to be at the top of a hill by some stores. Now it's right downtown at the Onapee State Trailhead. And a really cool thing to look at. And yes, it does tell the time accurately. Another big Kewaunee historical landmark is the Pierhead Lighthouse. Now, when the first permanent European settlement came to Kewaunee in 1836, it was because they reported gold at the mouth of the Kewaunee River. So a mill was established on that site, which of course required a lighthouse to accommodate all those coming to look for the gold and pan for gold. And they looked, but they didn't find any. But hey, at least we still have the lighthouse.
You know, one of the coolest aspects, I think, of doing this podcast is that there's so much flexibility and creativity really behind the kinds of shows that we get to do. And we also have the opportunity to bring on some super cool people onto the Cabin podcast, which we want to do more of. And since February is Black History Month, we thought it would be fitting to shine the spotlight on Black entrepreneurship here in Wisconsin. So Maria, I'm going to toss it over to you to introduce today's very special guest, Gina Stevens.
Yes, we have a very powerful Black woman on our show today, businesswoman, Gina Stevens. Welcome to the show. Gina Stevens migrated from Georgia up to Wisconsin after her time in the U.S. Navy to receive a bachelor's degree from Beloit College. Then she got an MBA from Cardinal Stritch University. She's also the founder and executive director of the nonprofit organization Rock County Jumpstart, as well as the marketing strategist and a strategic planning consultant at Beloit Media in Middleton. Gina is among the top 100 Black women to watch in marketing. She's listed in Who's Who in social media, and she's been named one of Wisconsin's most influential Black leaders. Gina is a Forbes columnist, and you also find her writing on business.com and social media today. Currently, she is serving as board chair of Collaboration for Good, and she's serving as a member of Showing Up for Racial Justice. She is the chair of her local NAACP's Economic Development Committee, and she's a member of the Foundation for Madison's Public Schools Board of Directors. In addition, if that wasn't enough, Gina was appointed to the City of Beloit's Equal Opportunity Commission in June 2020. So welcome, a huge welcome to the podcast, Gina. We are so excited to have you as a guest and to discuss such an important topic with us today, given your extensive background in this area. You seem like the perfect person to have on the show. So welcome.
Well, thank you for inviting me. So I appreciate that. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you.
So beyond all of those great milestones, and accomplishments, which are many, can you give us a little background about yourself and how you got to be where you are today?
Well, it took 20 years to get here. So as I was listening to you read all of that, I thought, wow, that's a lot. But then I had to remind myself that it took 20 years. So it wasn't like it was overnight. So it all started as a student at Beloit College, being a single mom with 2 children and, having to put food on the table, I was reminded that there's always a way to make money from home because my grandmother, and sometimes people say you probably shouldn't say that, but my grandmother was a bootlegger for 30 years. And she turned her kitchen into a bar. People would come to her home and sit around her kitchen. I was born and raised in Georgia, and there were lots of big old homes. And so her kitchen was really big. It was big enough to have at least 8 to 10 people in there. So it was this little bar. And I remember knowing that my grandmother worked from home. She found a way to feed her kids. And so I was thinking, what is it that I can do from home to feed my kids that I do well? And I remember that I knew how to market, folks online. So I started a marketing business 20 years ago online. And then it just kind of grew from there. So, sitting on board of directors, every time folks learn that you're a marketing person, they ask you to join their board of directors.
It's true.
So that you can, help them with their marketing. I didn't realize that was the reason, in the beginning, that's the reason why they ask you to join their board of directors, because they need a marketing person. But in the end, it turned out to be a blessing because I found that I really, really enjoy working with nonprofits. And then it turned into, I sat on all the strategic planning committees, and then I acquired the strategic planning skill. And so it just kind of, really started as a student at Beloit College, honestly, trying to figure out how to feed my kids so that I could, work from home and study at the same time. So that's really kind of how it started.
I love that you point out that fact that, your grandmother being a bootlegger and being a businesswoman. Let's call it what it is, right?
Right.
It was business. And I love that you point out that you saw that at a young age. And I think it just speaks volume, especially because we're talking about Black-owned businesses, about how much in the Black community and Black women specifically have to be innovative and entrepreneurial in general and have many hustles, if you will, and maybe just careers. So, I mean, you talk about seeing your grandmother, you talk about sitting, in your own kitchen at one point and be like, hey, I've got to figure out something so I can go to school and feed my kids. And that's something that's quite common, would you say, in the Black community?
Yes, a lot of the Black-owned businesses, particularly the ones run by women, start out of necessity. They start not from this big dream, I want to start a business, I want to make my own money, so I don't have to work for someone else. It really starts out of, this is what I need to do, not necessarily what I want to do. And it may be out of necessity because you find that you don't fit in at another company, no matter what you do, because you are Black or because you are a Black female, or it might start out of necessity because you're just not making enough money at that company. And you find that no matter what you do, you're not going to make enough money. And, that's one of the things that I learned. My marketing company was kind of sort of my side gig, and here I have an MBA, but it's always the white guys who are always making more money than me, even though I had more skills than they did. And I had an MBA. And so a lot of us will, decide, okay, no more part-time gig. It's got to be full-time because that's really the only way I'm going to make the money I need to make and that I should be making. So that's one of the things that I learned, was that a lot of us, particularly Black women, we start our businesses out of necessity. And then it turns into a passion. And then it becomes, I'm building this business so that it can be something that I leave to my children. And that's something that you're going to hear a lot. I'm building something for my children so that maybe they don't have to go through what I went through. So that is something that I'm hearing a lot.
Because becoming an entrepreneur can absolutely change generational wealth. It's one of the best ways. So what has been the greatest challenge and the greatest asset of being a Black woman running both a nonprofit and a for-profit company?
So one of the biggest challenges that I found for myself has been wanting to remain completely true to who I am. And one of the phrases that I found has become really kind of worn out is, be your most true and authentic self. So I try not to say that any more than I need to, but it's true. It's like, I really feel like I have wanted to remain my most true and authentic self. That person is extremely outspoken, extremely honest, very blunt. And I found that to be one of the biggest challenges in running my own business, because sometimes you can't be extremely blunt, honest, because you may not get a lot of clients, right? But I've also found that to be an asset as well, because people trust You have to build trust with people. And when they feel like you're being your most true and authentic self, they trust you and you're the person they want to work with, right? So while it might not, some people might not be used to that and they may not want to work with you because of that, there are a lot more people who will work with you because of that. So I've found that to be the large.
There's something to be said about that.
Yes, there's something to be said about that. So while I found that can be a little bit challenging, depending on who you're working with, it can be a great asset as well. So
it is. And I think what I think you're speaking to, being an entrepreneur myself, is that those relationships that you build, which is one of the biggest assets that you have as an entrepreneur running businesses, is the rapport, the relationships, the network that you build. And people want those genuine connections, right?
Yes, they want those genuine connections, and they can see right through you if they don't feel you are sincere and you are genuine. So what I've found over the years is I just have to be myself, because if they're seeing one thing on social media and then you're talking and they see something completely different in person, it just doesn't feel genuine. And they don't really feel like that relationship they've built with you is real. So it's really about building those relationships.
I absolutely agree. Like I said, just from experience myself in this field, and having, just like you, I actually have two businesses, but both are for profit. And I want to talk about that a little bit, because you have a nonprofit and you have a for profit. And there was something that I heard early on in the Black community, specifically business community, where it was like, Black people always start nonprofits. Why not? Was that something that you thought about, where you're like, oh, I'm going to have a for? Was that intentional to have a for-profit and a nonprofit, and why?
Actually, I started a for-profit forever ago, and I'll tell you, with my marketing business, I used to say I'm never going to have nonprofit clients because they don't pay enough, right? That's what I used to say. Having being a marketing company and sitting on the board of nonprofits, I was just like, okay, 80% of my clients are going to be for-profits and 20% are going to be nonprofits, because nonprofits just don't pay enough. But slowly over time, what I learned was I wanted to do work that felt good. And it couldn't be about making tons of money, right? And when you do work that feels good and you're happy with, the pay comes, right? And that's just how I felt. So in the beginning, I did start with a for-profit, and then slowly over time, my for-profit started to work more with nonprofits. So now I've kind of flipped that. My for-profit mostly works with nonprofits. And then I started my own nonprofit. So a lot of the business owners who I work with, they do for-profit work, but a lot of them, when I coach them, they are thinking about starting nonprofits. A lot of them, they're saying, oh, I have a for-profit, but I'm also thinking about starting a nonprofit. So they're doing exactly what I did.
That, which reminds me of something. If you're familiar with Jean Case and her husband who started AOL, they talk about that, where it doesn't just have to be a return on your investment. It can also be an impact investment as well. So like, it's not one or the other. And so I love that you're talking about, hey, I started a for-profit, but my passions can also be impactful, right, to society and the community. So that's important too.
It is. It was very important to me to make that flip. Because, I got to that point where I was like, there's a million marketing agencies out there. And so therefore, all of these for-profit companies, they don't need me to be their marketing company. I feel, nonprofits need really good marketing agencies to go to, who really truly understand the nonprofit world and the struggles of nonprofit agencies, nonprofit organizations. And that's the void that I can fill. And, let the rest of, not knocking the marketing agencies that want to be, make the big dollars. I'm not knocking that. Been there, done that. But that's not what I say. That's not how I want to go into my retirement days. I want to just slide into my retirement days doing the good work is what I want to do.
Have a passion and make an impact. I love that.
Exactly.
Which brings me to my next question. You're an expert in this field, right? You're writing for Forbes, you're writing for business.com. So you have this insight that a lot of us as entrepreneurs don't necessarily think about, right? Like, you're looking at the inside of the market, the inside of being an entrepreneur. So what do you think are some specific challenges that business owners or entrepreneurs that are in the Milwaukee or, let's say, Madison area of the state versus the rural areas are facing?
So having my for-profit in Madison and doing a lot of work in Madison, and even before I was doing work in Madison, I had clients East Coast, West Coast, other countries, and then having a nonprofit in Rock County, which is a more rural area. One of the things I've come to understand is that there are tons more resources, particularly for Black business owners in these larger metropolitan areas. The resources are there. The funding is there. There are organizations that are there to help you with funding, with training, with, tapping you in the resources. And when I say resources, I mean social capital, money, all those. That does not yet exist in more rural areas. And so finding ways to connect the rural areas with the more larger metropolitan areas is one of the challenges, or pull those resources from those areas and put them in a Rock County, for example. So me being uniquely positioned with having a for-profit in that area and being fully well aware of all those resources that are there, and then trying to figure out how to bring them to Rock County to help our Black business owners in this area. So that's one of the things I'm definitely noticing, is that people don't know where to find resources. And if they know how to find them, they're an hour away someplace else. The city of Beloit isn't as invested in our Black entrepreneurs or even Black and brown entrepreneurs the same way a Dane County, or Madison is. They don't have city funding the way, Madison does. So that's the big difference. They don't have the same entrepreneurial ecosystem, in Rock County that you'll see in Dane County. So that's the huge difference that I'm seeing.
It's the lack of resources and help that's available to you.
Yes, a lack of resources.
So what would you say to it? I mean, I think jumping into, being an entrepreneur, starting a business is already hard enough, right? There's a lot of unknowns. I think just being naive in general is probably the best way to jump in, right? Just dream big and go. Because if you start thinking about all of the obstacles you're going to face, you probably would never do it. But then there's this added difficulties when you are a person of color, right? Typically, we just have access to less capital and resources in general. So what advice would you give someone that's either starting out, and then one of the biggest problems I think that Black businesses have is scaling. So what advice would you give for both of those, people that are in those two different starting points?
So I will tell anyone who wants to start a business, just get started. I mean, I had no idea about anything about business plans or any of that. Whatever it is that you enjoy doing, you can turn it into a business in some way, shape, or form, because somebody else would love for you to do it for them because they don't know how to do it. So just get going, turn it into a business. I can guarantee you there's somebody in your family or friends who are willing to pay you to do that exact thing that you love to do for them. So just get started. Then for those who want to scale, I would Google is your best friend. Google it. If you want to know how to do marketing, even if you just get the most basic marketing plan on Google, use it. If you want to learn how to market on Facebook, find the most basic strategy on Facebook just to slowly start to scale. Then as you make money, you want to spend that on a professional probably. And then once you start working with a professional, maybe just a simple coach, that coach is going to help you find additional resources. And then there's always organizations like the Chambers and the SBDC, Small Business Development Center. I would say reach out to your Small Business Development Center right away. The folks there, they work with you for free, and then they will point you to people like me, or the Chambers or any other economic development centers. They will start pointing you in the right direction. So that's what I would suggest folks do.
I always tell people YouTube University is your friend.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. You can find a how-to for pretty much anything. And I say use it to just get you going, but don't be afraid to get started, because I can guarantee you there's an instruction for everything on Google somewhere.
Totally agree. The internet, all the information that we have at our fingertips, there's no better time, I think, to be an entrepreneur. And it's great that we have, individuals like you, Gina, who have been out there, who have started from the bottom, right? And just figured this out. And you are a resource as well. So
right.
Super grateful for having you on the show today and sharing all of your information and resources and knowledge. Is there something that you would like to leave us with, or, people who are listening, entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs? What would you leave everyone with?
Don't be afraid to just start. Don't be, and don't think that your business has to be perfect out of the gate. That's one of the things that a lot of the business owners I work with feel like They have to have those 5 employees right away. They have to have their office space right away. They have to have all the trucks, they need. Your business does not have to be perfect right away. You can work from a corner in your kitchen. You can work from a corner in your garage. You can work from your basement. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can have yourself and your son help you. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just get going.
I have a question. Gina, was there ever a moment, and you too, Marie, because your background is super impressive too. Was there ever a moment where either of you were just like, wanted to give up, or you thought like, I don't want to keep going on this business journey. Maybe this isn't for me?
No. if something wasn't working in my business, I'm a design thinking practitioner, and I don't know if anybody knows what design thinking is, but basically I'm the kind of person that says, if this, then what? If this isn't working, how can I tweak it? How can I change it? How do I pivot? So it's never been about, if this isn't working, I'm going to give up. It's, how do I pivot? How do I change it? Do I just turn it into another business? Go out and find out what the clients actually need. Am I just selling the wrong product? That's how I went from being training folks on social media to now it's marketing strategy to adding strategic planning. So it's never been about giving up. It's always been about, am I selling the right service?
And Gina, most of the time you would find when people start a business, they do end up having to do that to some extent. It almost never will go in the direction you think it will. It's just knowing how to adjust and when to adjust.
Right. Instead of just giving. And that's what I would suggest folks do is, instead of giving up on the business that you started, try to figure out, are you still selling the right product or service? And perhaps it's time to pivot instead of closing your business, change to a different service or a different market, expand into a different market. You might not have to close the business or give up. You might just need to try something different. And that's kept me in business for 20 years.
Such a relevant, I think, lesson today in the 2020, 2021, timing, where I think a lot of people are questioning the fact that they're running their own business. I think that's really awesome to hear. The year of the pivot is huge.
Right. Well, I've done it at least 5-6 times in 20 years, easily. So,
yeah. Mm-hmm. Very cool. I am also curious. We're going to do a rundown of some amazing Black-owned businesses in Wisconsin. We asked that question on social media and got a lot of great responses, but I'm curious if you guys have any of your own that you want to shout out here on the cabin, some that we should check out.
Oh, yes, we have. I want to shout out Run Mar Tasty Popcorn.
Ooh.
Which is a custom flavored popcorn company in the Janesville Mall. Actually, it's called Uptown Janesville now. They changed the name of it. Yes.
But for doing food, Coco Va, which is a chocolatier in Madison, super talented and great chocolate.
Yes. I want to shout out we have a Marathon gas station owned by a Black business owner, and a lot of folks don't know it's open. So that's why I want to shout them out. Marathon Gas on Prairie Avenue in Beloit.
Super cool.
Love that.
Well, I'm in Footville, so I'm about 15 minutes from the Janesville Mall. So I'm going to go get some popcorn this week for sure. I'll bring it into the office. So you guys, those of you who work with me, can hold me to this. I'm going to go stock up. Yep. Is there anything else you wanted to share too, Gina? Is there anything you were, dying to share with us and our listeners before you came on the pod today?
No, I want to thank you again for inviting me. I really appreciate it. This has been fun. Thank you.
Good.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Really great getting to know you. And I've kind of seen you from afar, and I think we're friends on Facebook, but it was so great to, finally meet you and hear so much of your story, which is super inspiring and just amazing work that you're doing. So keep it up.
Do you want to shout out your social at all, Gina, where we can follow you?
I am on Twitter at twitter.com/Gina Stevens. Mm-hmm. And I am on Facebook. Easily find me at Gina Stevens. And you can go to Rock County Jumpstart, facebook.com/Rock County Jumpstart.
First of all, I love all the love we gave Rock County in this episode as a Rock County native. The rest of the crew here knows I bring up Rock County more than any other county in the state. So I'm selfishly glad we brought you on, Gina. Eric, you're going to hit us with some awesome resources. I know you're the guy to kind of give us a rundown.
Yeah, there are some great ones. And actually, that's part of my background too. And Gina, I used to be executive director of BizStarts, if you're familiar with BizStarts in Milwaukee. Actually helped start BizStarts, as a matter of fact. That's one resource you can do, bizstarts.com. There's a great organization called WIBIC, which stands for the Wisconsin Women's Business Initiative Corporation. And they're fantastic as well. Scale Up Milwaukee, if you're in the Milwaukee area, it's a piece of the Greater Milwaukee Committee, which actually I used to work for. They help businesses scale. Gina mentioned scaling, and that's very important. They also have a program called Spark, which is actually focused specifically on minority-owned businesses and creating generational wealth, which Marie, you brought up a little earlier, and that's a very important topic as we all move forward, building generational wealth and being able to develop and hand off your business to your family. Small business development centers, Gina mentioned that. SBDCs are all over, including UW Milwaukee, UW Parkside, in Madison. I'm not sure if there's one in Rock County, but there are small business development centers throughout the state. There's another group if you need some coaching. There's an organization called SCORE, Service Corps or Service Corps, probably of retired executives. Those are people who have been executives in companies and now they want to coach and mentor new businesses. And then the Milwaukee Economic Development Corporation, there's one in Madison too. Again, a lot of these resources are in the larger towns. And then larger organizations like the Urban League, chambers of commerce that are not only city, but there's an African-American Chamber of Commerce. There's also a Native American, Hispanic, and Hmong chamber too, that specifically help minority-owned businesses. So there are a lot of other resources, and we're happy to post more about those too. If anybody has any more they want to contribute around the campfire with Discover Wisconsin, you can add comments on other resources too and help everybody out.
I just want to add, Madison College has the Entrepreneurial Residence Program. And what the Entrepreneurial Residence Program is that for students, faculty, staff, and community members can work with someone like me. I'm an entrepreneur in residence. And you just contact us, and then we will work with you one-on-one for free. So college pays for it. So
that's amazing.
Yes, just go to Madison College's website, and then you would navigate to the Center for Entrepreneurship. And there you would see the Entrepreneur in Residence tab. Contact someone there, and then they will match you with one of us, and then we will work with you. So that's a free resource for anyone who's starting a business. So
beautiful.
Yes, Madison College.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Gina. That was really enlightening. I did learn a lot. That was awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gina. Well, that was really cool.
Yeah, it was.
It was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So cool.
Well, we shall move forward now in our podcast because I need to talk about one of our sponsors, Jolly Good Soda. Now, they're in Festival Foods. You can find them there now, in addition to all the other great locations. And they have a new 6-pack size in select flavors. So you can check out Jolly Good's Sour Power, Grape, Cherry, Cream, and Root Beer. And now I'm really thirsty. Goodness. Make sure you check out Jolly Good Soda on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Stay up on all the fun deals that they have and all of the Jolly Good news. Their handle is at Jolly Good Soda. Simple enough. Use code CABIN10 during the month of February, by the way, and you get a 10% discount on all Jolly Good merchandise. So,
oh, yeah.
And hurry, because
you love that.
Yes. Wait, what kind of merch do they have? I'm going to go to their website.
It's Jolly Good stuff.
So, Marie, you have the amazing honor of reading our weekly review. This is a big deal, just so you know.
Okay.
She's like,
I've never done this before.
So every podcast episode, unless we don't have any newer reviews, we read off. It's basically our segment of self-praise. So we're going to let you do the honors here and compliment the rest of the folks on the call.
So this is from a listener. 5 stars from T Schmidt 11 on Apple Podcasts, titled Weekly Go-To Podcast. Really loving the Cabin podcast. Look forward to it each week. Great to hear new places for adventures and be reminded of ones I haven't thought about in a while. We agree with Dave. Yellowstone is a hidden gem. Keep the content coming.
And so is Blanchardville.
That is a good review.
Isn't that nice?
Thank you, T. Schmidt.
Thanks, T. Schmidt.
Yeah.
Okay. As promised, we're going to do a little rundown of some amazing Black-owned businesses in Wisconsin. We asked our social media manager, Abby, to poll our fans on social for their favorites. So here's what we have for you. Dave, you going to hit the music for me?
Yeah, of course.
All right. Marie's Soul Food in Madison, Spivey Logistics LLC in Appleton, 414 Floral in Milwaukee, Always and Forever Formal Wear in Beloit, Sharay's Ghana Style Peanut Brittle, I'm intrigued, in Appleton, Twisted Plants in Cudahy, Marie Hunter Beauty in Madison, BP Smokehouse BBQ in Tomah, oh my God, that place is amazing, Alice's Garden Urban Farm in Milwaukee, Pop's Barbecue at the corner of 76th and Good Hope Road in Milwaukee, the Cozzy Corner in Appleton, and Taejavu's on Main in Racine.
I want to add the Tandem in Milwaukee too.
All right.
And I want to add that those are not my two businesses. Two different ones.
You want to add yours, Marie?
No, I mean, I was saying that those were not mine, but I have a production company, Justice Media, but we mainly do our own productions, and then a commercial cleaning business, Community Cleaners, and we do service a lot of essential businesses in Madison.
Well, I was going to say that it couldn't have been a more essential business over the last year.
Yes, very important, right? Good time to have a commercial cleaning.
That's awesome. Good for you. That's so cool.
And of course, if you're listening and you want to add more businesses on our Facebook page, around the campfire, for example, please feel free to do so. Now, make sure to come back next week if you're looking to laugh.
Oh.
Well, sound effect for laughing, Dave?
Oh.
Oh, it's got it. It's got everything.
Sounds a little fake, but okay. Join us as we do a review of some of Wisconsin's favorite comedians. Next week.
Today's episode of The Cabin was hosted by me, Mariah Haberman, Eric Paulson, and Marie Justice. Produced by me, Susan Foch, and Audio Dave, with video editing by Matt Renta. Tune in next week for more campfire conversations and insight into the world of Discover Wisconsin. The Cabin is a production brought to you by Discover MediaWorks. To learn more, head to discovermediaworks.com, and don't forget to leave us a review.